My family, who had never given me privacy or ownership over anything, want to take over my own pharmacy. I, 24 female, have had my own pharmacy for around a year now. I still remember being a young child, studying hard and having countless of sleepless nights to achieve my goals. I never let anything get in my way. I cannot say I had a bad childhood, as I had loving parents and a wealthy family. However, throughout my whole life, I have never felt any sense of privacy and never had anything to call my own. I had a shared room with my sister, now 27 female. I know it may sound a little dramatic, but after I elaborate, maybe you'll understand. It wasn't a money problem, it was just the way the house was built, and maybe a little bit my sister's fault. Mind you, she's very controlling. Every furniture in the room belonged to her. The study desk was hers, the shelves were hers. I merely had a small space in her closet to put my clothes in. The only thing that was truly mine was my bed. I have never used any of the other furniture. She was so selfish, she used to kick me out of the room while she was studying so I won't distract her. And I had to sit in the hallway, reading my books on the cold floor. As a child, it was disheartening to me and offensive. I was a quiet child who loved to read. Who would kick out a child out of a room out of simple selfishness? I wasn't bothering her, but she didn't care. On the contrary, whenever she was bored, she always invaded my privacy, sat in my personal space, vented to me all the time without asking first, and never bothered to ask about my own life. She always asked me to do her projects, to be her therapist, to do anything she didn't want to do. I thought maybe she felt bad about herself because I was the brain and she was the looks. I did every nerdy thing, and she was the beauty. Being praised for my intelligence, while she was praised for her beauty, put a toll on my mental health since a young age. Wasn't I pretty too? I was only the smart sister. My family only gave backhanded compliments, and strangers were surprised we didn't look like each other at all. We were not connected. A heartbreaking time I will never forget was that at one point, my sister immediately contacted my ex secretly and spent the day with him the same day I broke up with him. I got the information from my friend who happened to run into them, and I couldn't believe it until I was shown proof, a picture of both of them hugging. How would this affect a girl whose self-esteem is already non-existent? You may ask. It shattered me. I was wondering, and I still am, that maybe she envied my life. Maybe she wanted to be more than a pretty girl, or maybe she just loved the attention. I still don't know what got her to betray her own sister for a guy. I was heartbroken that day. Not because of him, but because she was my own sister. The information spread like wildfire throughout town. My own sister betrayed me with my ex the same day we broke up. She was so self-centered. She loved the attention and didn't think farther than her own impulses. I had to always forgive her, or else I would get guilt-tripped by the whole family. I think that's how we turned out so different. From my side, on the contrary, over the years, she drained me of my energy, and it led me to really value my privacy and my alone time. I couldn't stand staying in the same room as her, and I just needed my peace. I started pursuing hobbies that I knew she didn't like, just so I could get some alone time. I read books and got deep into video games, the things she hated. School-wise, I always liked the healthcare field, and I always wanted to major in it. It was always my dream to be able to help people and be a doctor or anything related to that profession. She was faint-hearted. I knew she hated blood, and she hated any aspect of the medical or healthcare field. So it was also fitting. as she couldn't invade this side of my life too. Being 3 years older than me, she went to college while I was still in school. She loved fashion and skincare, as they were the only things she could do, and the only things she was interested in. To her disappointment, she had to choose business, just a decision to be able to support herself. And because the other options were too difficult for her, like dermatology, which requires entrance to med school. She talked about choosing pharmacy, but eventually it was also too scientific for her. She just liked the beauty side, so about less than a quarter of the whole major, and not the academic side. So she went to business school and settled for a career she didn't like. Fast forward a few years, I went to college to study pharmacy. During this time, we both lived at home. I had to study in various parts of the house because she always had the room to herself and her friends. So I found myself studying on the kitchen table, on the living room couch, or on the hallway floor. If occasionally I could be in the room, I couldn't use the desk because it was hers. So I studied on my bed and had severe back pain. When she wanted to sleep, I had to go to sleep too, or leave the room because she wanted to turn off the lights. It was ironic because when she was in college, I always slept with the lights on for her whenever she was studying. At this point, I was used to her selfishness, and I had accepted it. I generally confront people, and I don't let them treat me badly. But she was so controlling, you couldn't question her actions. She was an expert at manipulating and guilt-tripping, so you always found yourself doing as she wanted. I did have amazing grades though. I was studying regularly and even had to skip some hangouts with friends and family to stay in and study. I always took my academic life seriously and wanted to succeed. Maybe it was a thought of finally being independent that drove me there. Maybe it was the fact that I'll finally have my own thing to do. The years passed and I eventually went to important internships, graduated, and finally opened my own pharmacy. After years of hard work and sleepless nights in the kitchen, I finally got something to call my own. It was great to wake up in the morning and leave home and spend the day in peace, just doing what I loved in my own presence. Being away from my household was great for my well-being, and I could love them from a distance, within my own personal space. A few months of work later, my pharmacy was really getting successful, being the only one in our town. But what I did not see coming was the unbelievable decision my family, who was supposed to be happy for me and have my back, came up with. I had a lot of customers every day, and everything was doing great, until my sister started talking about how she always dreamed to be a pharmacist. She spoke about regretting pursuing her career, and that she chose to major in something she hated. She loved skincare and insisted that pharmacists were expert in skin products, and that a pharmacy was the best place to start your own brand and sell it there. She finally confessed that she wanted to quit her job at a business firm and join me in my pharmacy. I was devastated. Of course I felt bad for my sister. I wouldn't want her to work in a field she hated, but at the same time, she made this decision. She decided to go for the secure job, and she decided not to pursue her dreams. I wasn't responsible for her regrets in life. I had worked so hard to get what I wanted. I had so many all-nighters to trying to finish my work. And there she was, wanting to take over my hard-earned job. At this point, I have had enough. She has always invaded everything I ever had. She always controlled me and took everything that was mine, even my own time and my own space. And she was also trying to steal my job from me, this time. It was my last straw. She didn't do a quarter of what I have done to get there. She wasn't there to support me in my journey because she was too busy being selfish and caring about her own self. And now she wanted to take over my job. My pharmacy was my only safe space, my only hard-earned possession. I didn't want to give it over. I argued with her, but I could not tell her everything that was in my heart. I couldn't tell her everything she had done to me because she would guilt trip me and manipulate me into thinking I was the bad one. She wouldn't even believe it herself, and she never focuses on what she does to others. I had to reject her offer, with not much reason. She said that I could not have everything, including a successful career and nice things that I have bought myself with my own money, while she hated her job. Here comes the part where I thought maybe she was insecure about not being smart enough to be able to do what she wanted in life, so she was going to use my own work to benefit herself. She's a very narcissistic person, and she seems to forget how I worked hard for everything that I have now. We might have hung out together sometime, sure, we're sisters, but she doesn't seem to recall how hard I worked and declined going out many times to stay on track with my studying. She thinks maybe I just get the privilege of a high-paying job and independence while forgetting the sacrifices I have made. I tried to reason with her. I told her that her decision wasn't logical and would never work because a pharmacy requires much more than a love for skincare. It requires a certified degree. It requires knowledge about all medications and even emergency first aid procedures. It was not for the faint-hearted like her, and that barely no customers come asking for skincare. Pharmacy was a strong degree and needed the comprehension of many topics, and that she legally might not be able to run it. She insisted, brushing off everything I said, arguing that I'll eventually be there to help when in need, as if it wasn't my own job. She basically wanted me to be her assistant, while she took over and used the reputation I had made for myself. After learning that, my mom loved the idea and proceeded to also talk about taking over it, as I needed the help because of the high amount of customers I get in a day. When I told my dad that they were trying to take my work, he told me to be more understanding, saying that there's no harm in helping my sister achieve her dreams and that they are my own family. He was so disappointed in me for being stingy and heartless, and even brought up the fact that I always act distant with them, and he doesn't see why. It turned into a lesson in how he gave us everything he had, and that I went to college because of him, that I didn't have the right to refuse such offer, as my family just wanted to help me, not steal my job. They always guilt-tripped me, and it always led me to never know how to say no. And if I say no, I'm the bad guy, preventing my sister from pursuing her dreams, and I'm being selfish and going against my own family. But I wasn't the one who stopped her from going to pharmacy school, and I wasn't the one who stood in the way of her so-called dreams. She simply didn't go after them, and now it was my responsibility to help her, by giving her my own job, for no profit or any kind of repayment. For once, my brain was helping me, and her beauty wasn't helping her. They call me selfish, but deep down, I know they're being the selfish ones, not considering my side of the story and just expecting me to hand over my hard work to them. I was lost, and I absolutely did not want to settle for that. Not being able to say no, as they don't take it as an answer, I told them to give me a few days to think about it. I had earned myself a few additional days at the pharmacy. I spent my days contemplating what I should do. I was always being stepped on, and this time wasn't going to be the time I'd let it go. I was tired of being the submissive one, always agreeing because I was scared of saying no. I did not want to be scared to speak my own mind in front of my family. I sought advice from my friends, and they all told me to deny at all costs. I did not do all this hard work to give the privilege I earned to my sister or my family. People were agreeing with me, after all. It reassured me into knowing I wasn't the one in the wrong. I deserved to stand my ground and have a solid answer, no. My friends then proceeded to give me a solution that made me contemplate everything. I could close the pharmacy down and restart over in another town, far from my family. It sounded difficult. Where would I relocate? How will I be able to be far away, alone, for the first time ever? How much time would it need to do all of this? After thinking about it, I came to a conclusion. My family was toxic, so it wouldn't be a problem to be far away from them. And I had everything necessary to do it all again. If it meant having something of my own and standing my ground, it was worth it. I wouldn't let them step on me again. All of my friends had also left town at the time, so I wouldn't be leaving anything important behind but my own toxic environment. It was hard to make the decision. It wasn't easy at all to relocate and start again in a new city. But with a little bittersweet tingling in my heart, I managed to pack my bags when they weren't home and I left far away. I didn't tell them until I had arrived, a few hours later, and it was a fairly big distance away from home. I knew they wouldn't follow me. They couldn't believe it at first. How did I leave them? In their mind, I was probably evil. My whole family hates me for it, and they keep making me feel bad for them and beg me to come back. They told the whole town what happened, and now everyone thinks I'm the bad guy. But it doesn't matter to me. A few months later, I now have a new boyfriend. I own a successful pharmacy once again, by myself, and I adopted a cute dog. I had never been happier and healthier. After this long journey, I learned that leaving the environment in which you're constantly being held back is one of the best solutions you can make. Another lesson I learned was to always stand my ground and keep my needs as my number one priority. I knew what I needed to be happy, and it was to have my peace and my space. And it wasn't to be constantly manipulated. If my family ever follows me, I will reject their offers. And I won't welcome them here. Don't be afraid to leave a toxic environment and to start again. And never let your opinion be buried. Always stand for what you believe in, and always look after your own mental needs to be able to see yourself blossom. The end. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed watching this animated story, make sure to like this video.